Good afternoon. It's the world's busiest international airport. Today, police are on a heightened state of alert as hundreds of protesters continue to gather near Heathrow for this week's Camp for Climate Action. Officers visited the camp this morning to warn protesters that they are occupying the land illegally. The protesters say they're planning a week of activities which will culminate on Sunday in 24 hours of direct action. This report now from Daniel Bircher.
The camp is still being set up, demonstrators bringing everything on site, including the kitchen sink. In the background, the reason why they are here, this is a protest against the rapid expansion of aviation. There are only a few hundred here now, but more are arriving. Police have closed the road to the site, so the demonstrators are using wheelie bins to move their supplies. They say this will be peaceful, with what they call mass direct action at the end of the week, though it's not clear what that will mean.
Let's wait and see. One thing that we have said is that there's going to be no attempts to go onto runways, because that's a big safety issue, and that the main aim of the action will not be any obstruction of passengers trying to get to Heathrow.
Sean Walters runs a pub in the nearby village of Sipson. If a third runway for Heathrow goes ahead, he will lose his business and his home, so he has some sympathy.
As long as they don't disrupt too much, they don't make too much of a mess, they don't cause anybody any harm, I think they've got to put the point over as best they can.
At Heathrow's terminals, it remains business as usual. No impact from the demonstration for now. The airport authority says with the current security situation, the protest is irresponsible. Extra measures have been put in place.
I'm not able to go into any specifics, but I think it's well in the public domain that the police have increased their manning at the airport, and quite clearly we will be looking very closely at what activities are going on and making sure that the smooth operation remains safe and secure.
Police have been at the camp this morning. The demonstrators say they have legally occupied the site. In the coming days, what happens here will be closely watched. About 250,000 people will pass through Heathrow today, and the airport authorities say there's absolutely no reason for people to change their plans because there has been no impact so far, and they say they are determined that that will remain the picture throughout the week. Sophie.
Daniel, thank you very much. Well, let's look now at the case behind these protests. The campaigners are worried about the expansion of air travel. What are the hard facts, though, behind their case?
Well, some of the facts very much speak for themselves. If you look specifically at flights, for example, at the moment there are something like 2.5 million flights per year in and out of the UK. And that's a big number, but it's up something like 47% in just the past decade, so a huge explosion in flights. Now, at Heathrow itself, the focus of the campaigners, there are 470,000 flights per year. But of course, if there is a third runway granted, that could get a lot higher as well. And then the campaigners are worried about the contribution of all of this to CO2 emissions and greenhouse gases. Last year's Stern report said that aviation accounted for 1.7% of worldwide CO2 emissions. But of course, aviation, out of all the polluters, is the fastest growing sector.
But in the short term, aviation has a lot of benefits to the economy, doesn't it? I mean, that's the problem.
It does, and of course we love to fly, and again the numbers speak for themselves. Last year, something like 235 million passengers flew in and out of the UK. We're flying to more places more often than ever before, and there is a big economic boost associated with that. If you look at Heathrow itself, for example, it has 68,000 workers there working directly, but some say up to 250,000 people are working there indirectly. So a huge contribution to the economy, and some put the number at a value of something like £5 billion boost to the economy. But if you take in all the other airports across the UK, of course, that figure, that boost is much higher.
John, thank you very much.